So the NBA draft was last night, and I'm going to be talking about some of the winners and some of the losers from the draft. First of all, I'm going to be talking about some of the winners. Obviously, one of the biggest winners was the Philadelphia 76ers, because it seems like the process is finally over, and if Simmons and Embiid can remain healthy, it's looking like they will make the playoffs next year. They've got Fultz, Embiid, Simmons, Dario Saric leading the team, Robert Covington as well. That is a good team, and whoever they pick up in free agency just makes them stronger. I think the process is well and truly complete. Sam Hinkie seems like an absolute genius now, and to be honest, realistically he was a genius, and Philadelphia 76ers now have one of the brightest futures in the NBA. If they had to fall to 3, they would have had to get a player that plays the small forward position, which realistically is Ben Simmons' position, which meant that they would have been a little bit like stuck for a point guard. Even though they could have drafted De'Aaron Fox, I think picking De'Aaron Fox that high would have been a little bit risky. But I think what they did was perfect by trading up with Boston, and they definitely come out as winners of this draft, getting Markelle Fultz. While I'm not that sold on Fultz, he does have the potential to be a great NBA player. Next up, obviously the Minnesota Timberwolves. They gave up pretty much nothing to get Jimmy Butler, who's a top 15, possibly top 10 player in the NBA. They gave up pretty much nothing. Obviously, they did give up the 7th pick, which was used to draft Lauri Markkanen. But then they also went and got Josh Patton with the 16th pick the Chicago Bulls gave them. I don't understand why the Bulls gave them that pick. Surely Jimmy Butler by himself would have been enough in this trade. And Justin Patton realistically is probably as good as Lauri Markkanen. He'll probably have as good a career as him in the NBA, because I think Markkanen is going to be a bust. I'm just predicting that. I think he's going to be a bust. The Timberwolves also gave up Kris Dunn, who's looking like he's going to be a bust. Even when he played last year wasn't great, and he was predicted to be almost a lock for Rookie of the Year. He was so bad that it reassured fans they want to keep Ricky Rubio. For years, fans were looking to trade Rubio. Rubio was in every trade rumor. Kris Dunn was so bad in his rookie year that Minnesota Timberwolves fans now want to keep Ricky Rubio. And then they also gave up Zach LaVine. I really like Zach LaVine, but to be honest, an ACL injury mainly affects one thing. Just like it did with Derrick Rose, it affects explosiveness and athleticism. And what does Zach LaVine have without his explosiveness? Not much. A quite decent three-point shot, but he's possibly the most explosive and athletic player in the league. Well, most explosive guard anyway. But who knows how LaVine is going to be when he comes back from injury. And they got rid of him in case he ends up being bad and his trade value is completely devalued. And got Jimmy Butler in return. Yes, Jimmy Butler. A player who plays in Thibodeau's system and one of the best players in the NBA. Minnesota Timberwolves 100% winners in this year's NBA draft. Another winner is the Sacramento Kings. For the first year, it actually looks like they drafted well. They didn't draft a player who played the same position as their best player. They drafted De'Aaron Fox, who could possibly be the best player in this draft. He's got one of the highest ceilings at the point guard position. It means Darren Collison no longer has to start for the Sacramento Kings. They also picked up Justin Jackson, who's one of the safest picks in the draft and is going to go right in and make an impact. And then they picked Harry Giles, who could be the steal of this draft. Harry Giles has the potential to be one of the best, if not the best players in the draft as well. Even though he is injury prone, he was predicted to go number 1 at the start of the year and was the number 1 high school recruit. Obviously, he didn't have a great season at Duke. He was injured for a lot of it. But if he lives up to his potential or even comes close, he is going to be the steal of this draft. And the Kings, yes, the Sacramento Kings took him. So the Kings are definite winners in this draft. I know, I'm shocked. I think everyone's shocked that the Kings actually did something good. They didn't draft Papagiannis, who played the same position as their best player, Boogie. They didn't draft Willie Cauley-Stein. They didn't draft Nick Stauskas or Ben McLemore. They drafted De'Aaron Fox, Justin Jackson, who's a sure thing, and Harry Giles, who's one of the biggest boom or bust players in this draft, and I think it's going to be a boom. The New York Knicks were also winners in this draft. They didn't trade Porzingis. Pretty much, that's why they're winners. But they also drafted Frank Ntilikina, who I really like and I think really fits their system. And another winner is the Lakers. They got their man. There is now hype for for the Los Angeles Lakers once more. The Lakers have been irrelevant. D'Angelo Russell wasn't going to bring this much hype. Brandon Ingram wasn't going to bring this much hype. They've got Lonzo Ball. Even if he does end up being a terrible player, for the first couple of games of the season, he'll sell tickets. There's definitely been season tickets sold just for people who want to watch Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball has brought, I don't know whether it's positive or negative attention, but he's brought attention back to the Los Angeles Lakers. And even if he does end up being a bust, the attention he will bring to that club in the first couple of months of the season is going to be worth the risk. But I think Lonzo Ball is going to be a superstar, one of the best players in the league, and again, just like Giles, De'Aaron Fox could be the best player in this draft. I really like him. He does have a lot of bust potential, but I genuinely think that the Lakers have struck gold by drafting Lonzo Ball. I honestly, if I was the Boston Celtics, would not have traded the first overall pick. I would have taken Lonzo Ball and traded Isaiah Thomas for some assets or some more picks, but they didn't, and the Lakers ended up with their hometown guy. And now we are on to the losers of the draft, and this is going to be a bit of a confusing one. And I think one of the losers of the draft is Lonzo Ball, because LaVar Ball couldn't shut up for one day. He proclaimed that in the first year of Lonzo being on the Lakers that they'll make the playoffs. While it's a possibility, and I think Lonzo's going to be great, that's a huge ask. That is an absolutely huge ask. And every single opponent is going to hear that. Especially De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento. In the same division, they're going to play each other 4 times. But Lonzo Ball is definitely one of the losers of this draft because of the pressure that he's under, especially after going to LA. The pressure he's under with his dad, everything. While I think the LA Lakers have got a great player, Lonzo going anywhere but LA would have taken so much pressure off him and would have let him just focus on basketball. While I think he probably will focus on basketball, there's going to be a lot more pressure on him now that he was drafted by his hometown team, the Lakers. I think he'll step up, but it's going to be tough for him. Next up, we've got the Detroit Pistons, who took Luke Kennard with the 12th overall pick. I honestly think Luke Kennard is a good player. He shoots the ball well, and he will continue to shoot the ball well in the NBA. But at the number 12 pick, I just don't. I see another Nick Stauskas type player. I honestly see him as not a lottery pick and not being close to a lottery pick. They could have gotten a lot of other players. I think that OG Anunoby is going to be one of the steals of this draft, and he was still on the board. Even though it was predicted that Luke Kennard was going to end up going to the Detroit Pistons, I genuinely did not think that it's going to be that good a fit, and I don't think he's going to be that good an NBA player. Who knows if he could be a star? Who knows? But I think at best he's just going to be a 3-point shooter. With a lottery pick, you can't take that risk. The next loser is Malik Monk, who slipped to 11 in the draft. Yes, 11. And he also went to a team that drafted Dwayne Bacon, who I think could be one of the steals of this draft. To be honest, I probably should have put the Charlotte Hornets in the winners, because they managed to get Monk and Bacon. He's not a guaranteed starter for the Charlotte Hornets. Like, the Charlotte Hornets play a little bit of Nick Batum at the 2, Kid Gilchrist at the 3. There's no guarantee Malik Monk even gets into that team. And he also fell from pretty much people thought that the Magic might take him at 6. Some people thought the Kings might take him at 5. And heck, some even thought that he was going to be taken at 4 by the Phoenix Suns. Or even 3 by the Celtics. Some actually thought he was going to be taken 3 by the Celtics. And he fell to 11. And he also was picked by a team that he was not a great fit for. Had he gone down one more pick to the Detroit Pistons, I would have said, grand, that's perfect. Because it means that the Detroit Pistons don't have to pay way over the odds for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They can let him go. They don't have to pay him a max contract. They can just slide Malik Monk into there. And to be honest, he lost a lot of money sliding to number 11 in the draft. So Malik Monk has to be on the losers. And the last loser, of course, the Chicago Bulls. What were they doing? I fully understand trading Butler to rebuild, but why did they trade him for someone that looks like a bust and an elite athlete who tore his ACL and may lose a lot of his explosiveness, and the 7th pick, which they used to draft Lauri Markkanen, and then they gave up their pick as well as Jimmy Butler, which turned out to be Justin Patton, who's probably going to be better than Markkanen. I fully understand the Bulls wanting to rebuild. But the thing is, the Chicago Bulls should have made a trade with the Boston Celtics. I don't know what the Celtics were offering, but the 3rd pick straight up and any of the Celtics assets. I assume the Celtics would have done 3rd pick straight up Jay Crowder for Jimmy Butler. That means you don't give away your 16th pick, which you could have used to draft someone who I think is probably better than Markkanen, and you also get a player that's a sure thing, that you don't know what Zach LaVine's going to be able to do. You don't know what Kris Dunn's going to be able to do. You get someone like a Jay Crowder, and then with the 3rd pick, who knows, you're going to let Rondo go. You might draft De'Aaron Fox in that position. You might get Josh Jackson to pretty much replace Jimmy Butler. Jason Tatum could have been a good pick there. You could have done so many other things if you're the Chicago Bulls GM, but you decided to give your best player and your 1st round pickup for a potential bust player, a boom or bust player in Lauri Markkanen, a potential bust in Kris Dunn, and a player who may never be the same in Zach LaVine. So it is one of the craziest trades I've ever seen. I fully understand why the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler, but I don't understand why they traded him to the Timberwolves and why they traded him for this package. So anyway, that's the video. These are teams that I think were winners and losers of the NBA draft. If you guys could leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.